This is the sternocleidomastoid, or the SCM mobilization. So what we're going to do here is we're going to work on the opposite muscle action, and we're going to work on elongating the tissues. So what I want you to do is take your hand and cup it into a U, place it at the base of your jaw. Your SCM is these big targeted muscles here. We're going to go ahead and put that at the base, and what we're going to do is create the opposite muscle action. So what we're going to do instead, if left side works on right rotation, we're actually going to work on left rotation and actually lateral tilt. So putting this muscle in its most elongated state. So essentially what we're going to do is, as we go into that rotation, we're going to actually brace our hand and push down slightly. The muscle action is going to drive a sliding of our hand across the tissues. You might want to put some balm or some type of lotion on your hands, just so you don't get any friction, too much friction on the dermal layer, so on the skin layer, and just cause like an irritation or something like that. So again, you can go ahead and brace that. You're going to look up and lean over, working from the top to the bottom. Up, lean over, up, lean over. You're going to do the same thing on both sides. You'd be amazed in just a few passes how you're already starting to clear up that rotational component, the lateral component. So this is the SCM mobilization. So here's the mobilization for the upper trap fibers. Essentially what we're going to be doing here is creating the opposite muscle action again. So the idea is that what we're going to essentially do is go ahead and take our hand and kind of cup it. We're going to drive our thumb under and up. So we're going to actually rotate those fibers essentially up, kind of pulling up. What we're going to do there is isolate those, and then we're going to work on the opposite muscle action, much like the SCM or levator scap mobilization, where essentially we're going to be going to the opposite side. So I'm leaning down. I'm not allowing my shoulder to lift up. I'm putting the muscle on full tension, so I'm keeping my shoulder anchored down. And then I'm working on in range lateral flexion. And then I also will add in some rotational components. So I'll do it on the opposite side, but actually work on just creating that rotation. A big reason there is that you're not only going to be catching the upper trap. The upper trap's actually a pretty thin layer. You're going to be catching, some of that levator. You're also going to catch some of your scalenes. So you're just going to catch a lot of the tissue, and essentially we're going to be working through, making this as applicable as possible. So that's how we're going to isolate the upper trap. It's just in the lateral flexion, and then we can add in a rotational component if we really feel like that's restrictive for us. This is the levator scap self-mobilization, much along the same lines as the SCM, or the upper trap fiber mobilization. Essentially, we're going to work on the opposite muscle action, so elongating the muscle. So on our right side, we'll work on left lateral flexion, essentially lengthening out those tissues. So what we're going to do is we're going to locate the upper attachment, or the upper fibers of that levator. What I want you to do is go ahead and identify the SCM, essentially finding the sensitivity point behind that. You're going to find it, and then what we're going to do is kind of anchor down our shoulder and work on lateral flexion. So I'm going to show you from the front, just so you can see, but I want to keep the shoulder down, so I'm not allowing it to come with me. And again, trying to create kind of tension through the muscle, and then working across that, allowing our thumb to slide down as we pull across. So what that's going to look like. Get to in range, come back. Get to in range, come back. Get to in range, come back. Do the opposite on the other side. This is the levator scap self-mobilization.